a guitar is not necessarily something that you strum. You can hit it with a stick. Whatever it takes to get the right sound out of the thing.
To fanboy for a second, to me, Bauhaus is one of the greatest bands ever.
Well, a big thing for us was not doing the obvious and not being rock.
I'm always impressed by how confident your musical life has been to let things be simple or imperfect or just be what they are.
When we started, we got a lot of resistance and we really relished kicking against that.
Did you guys have an intellectual kind of conversation at the beginning? You are named for an art movement.
Yeah. No.
I love it. David, nice to see you. Thank you for being here today. You honor me with your presence.
Thank you, Billy.
Where can we begin? Oh, okay. I'm fascinated because of the music that came out of the UK in the 60s, 70s, 80s, this kind of post-war gloom. You weren't necessarily born right after the war, but you were born in 57.
Mm-hmm.
What was the environment that you grew up in? If you want to just kind of give me a postcard view of it.
Yeah, well, I come from a town called Northampton. It's right in the middle of England. It's the Midlands. It's the centre. Furthest place from the sea in England, actually. And it's a small market town. The industry is making shoes, boots and shoes.
Okay.
So there's factories for that. And there's a brewery there, the Carlsberg Brewery. And there's a town centre, market square. It was a pretty rough place growing up there.
Kind of industrial, the typical industrial kind of.
It had an element of that. Yeah, very working class. Just really, just a kind of hard place and pretty tough and rough and ready. Surrounded by beautiful countryside,
mm-hmm.
which was, you had to escape, go into the countryside, which was near.
Yeah.
But the town centre was very, very working class, and yeah, it was a rough place. And we got a lot of stick when I first formed Bauhaus with the other guys.
Yeah, I had a feeling forming an art band.
Yeah, we were very much outsiders.
I bet. What did your parents do?
My parents they had a newsagent and tobacconist shop.
Okay.
Little shop on the corner. And that did quite well, that shop, mainly due to my mum's kind of business acumen. And they built that up quite well. And so as a result of that, my brother and I, we went to a public school for 2 years, which in England, a public school is the opposite to here. It's like a private school. So, and that was quite formative in a way.
I was going to say, yeah.
Different. It was certainly like the level of education was a lot higher.
Yeah.
But it was pretty draconian in its, it was like, Tom Brown's school days to a degree, corporal punishment and all that.
Okay.
And that was another kind of tough place. So I only lasted 2 years and then went back to what they call a secondary modern school, just a regular school. And I found I was 2 years ahead of everybody.
Oh, I see.
But soon slipped back because I wanted to hang out with the cool kids.
As you do.
Yeah.
So every musician has their apocryphal, the moment when the music sort of flashed in their brain, like, I want to do that. What was your sort of
That
moment?
Would be, well, the very first thing was reggae. So
which has always been present in your music.
Yeah, yeah.
This kind of dub feel.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like prior to dub.
Are we talking like Desmond Decker?
Yeah, exactly. Desmond Decker, and Toots and the Maytals, things like that. And a lot of the early records that were produced by Lee Scratch Perry. And that had a big impression on me. So this is like 1970.
Okay.
So I was like 13.
Yeah.
My mates and I, we used to sneak into the skinhead disco. We were too young to get in, but we would sneak in. And that's where the first place where I heard music really loud in the dark, and in the edgy company of the Skins,
Yeah.
who would be quite amused by us nippers, and they would like ply us with beer and get us drunk.
Is this like nascent punk times, or
no? Because it was.
What were the skinheads listening to?
To reggae exclusively.
Really? Oh, I didn't know.
That's all they play there.
Yeah. This part of English culture is kind of lost to the Americans,
Yeah, and the reason that there was a lot of that music in England was because of the mass immigration from the West Indies and Jamaica.
Basically, colonialism, right?
Well,
they weren't they colonies at some point?
Yeah, but it was the other way, and those people coming in.
No, I'm saying, but it was the connection of the cultures through colonialism that sort of sets that in motion.
Yeah.
Again, this is my American take.
Yeah,
so.
And they were kind of the natives were kind of escaping that to go back to the source of the imperialism. But they set up their own culture there in England, and it was very prevalent and made a big impression musically.
What was the attraction to the skinheads, if you remember? Like, did they like that it was it sitting as more pure, or what was there? Because the skinheads tend to have some kind of socio-political logic to what they're into.
I think it was an identification with the archetype of the rude boy.
Okay.
And the clothes. They liked the clothes, and that was influential on the dress sense of the skinheads. It then morphed into the suede heads. And I was a suede head because I never got that skinhead haircut. So when they all started to grow out their hair, it was recognized that I was already there.
Yeah, it's fascinating too, because I know you had your dips into Motown, but like basically Motown and Stax had such an influence on reggae.
Yeah,
so going back through what you were influenced by, it's like an interesting loop there.
Yeah. So that was the first music that made a big impression on me. And then shortly after that, I mean, what really blew it all apart was Mark Bela and T-Rex.
Yeah.
So this is like 71, 72. And I was totally captivated by all that. I joined, it's the only fan club I've ever joined, was the T-Rex fan club.
What did you get for joining the fan club?
Well, I would wait with bated breath for my monthly package that would come through of a newsletter, a photo of Mark, with a printed
Did you save that stuff?
Signature. No, I wish.
Oh, yeah.
Occasionally a flexi disc, which is quite a treat. And I think they go for big bucks now.
I bet.
But yeah, I was a paid up member. And then again, shortly after that, Bowie, of course.
Yeah. Well, David Bowie was quite fascinated with Mark Bolan too. He said, "I'll take some of that."
Yeah, right? Sure.
As you know, not everybody wants to play the bass. It tends to be the redheaded stepchild of musicians. So, what was it about the bass? Was it the dub reggae part of it all?
Well, this is prior to dub, but it was certainly the reggae. Yeah.
Okay.
And I identified that sound and that instrument as being very integral to the music that I loved. And nobody else wanted to play the bass, My first band I was in at school, there were 5 lead guitarists, and then I was one of them, aspiring, and failing. And then it was suggested by one of us that, well, somebody has to be the bass player. And I just stepped forward.
Yeah.
Well, maybe all the other guys stepped back. But no, I always gravitated to it.
Yeah, because I love the bass, but as an 18-year-old guitar player, I wanted nothing to do with the bass.
Sure,
it's the guitar.
Yeah, of course. Certain types.
Tony Visconti wasn't he the T-Rex bassist essentially?
Well, he played on some of the records. Bill Curry was the regular guy. But I mean, Tony Visconti, yes, very good bass player.
But when you talk about the reggae influence on your playing, it's like suddenly, because when I first heard you playing, I couldn't understand where it was coming from. Because I only saw it within the guise of what we would now call alternative music.
Right.
Where it's like, you think of like Steve Severn or something, it's very like aggressive and, maybe playing higher hooky.
Yeah, sure.
But you were coming from this totally other quadrant of logic.
Yeah, although I did have elements of what you're talking about as well.
No, but I'm saying that part of your playing was a mystery to me.
Right, yes. And that is coming from dub.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, basically, a key component of Bela Lugosi's Dead is it's got a dub factor there.
It makes total sense when you put it in that frame.
With the echo as well.
Yeah.
So we were all into reggae, especially myself and Daniel. We were very much into dub.
Huh.
So, yeah.
That also explains the sort of some of the Love and Rocket stuff even.
Yeah. It's always been there, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm not asking you to repeat the origin story of the band, but I'm curious, having a musical brother, and the famous brother pairings, the Kinks and the Gallaghers and stuff like that. Was it always the intention you guys were going to work together, or did that sort of?
My brother and I?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how that started. And I told this story to Tony Visconti, mentioning him.
Oh, very good.
And he loved it. So the first time I ever recorded anything, and that was on a reel-to-reel tape recorder that belonged to my parents, was because I had the T-Rex singles. So we would play those sort of quite low volume, and I would sing over the top and warble in an attempt to sound a bit like Mark Bolan. And Kevin would play, he would be Mickey Finn, and he would be playing
congas.
He upturned flower pots, literally, as his congas, in lieu of congas. And we would make these. God, I wish I had those recordings. And that was
record store day. It's in this day and age. It's a release.
Yeah. So that was the start of it, really.
Yeah.
And then and then Kevin, he had a natural talent for drums.
Yeah.
And he got a kit, pretty basic kit,
Yeah.
But he was just very, very dedicated. He'd just be playing for hours and hours, much to the chagrin of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a fair question to ask, but I wonder if there's anything to it. Both you and your brother have very asymmetrical approaches to your instruments. And it seems to me that given the breadth of your work over so many years, like some alternative people, they want to be alternative, so they play alternative or weird. But you guys just played different from the get-go.
Yeah.
Was that something that was intrinsic? You think it's in the family? Was there an influence, or was it just the way it was? Does it make sense the way I'm asking?
The way it was, really.
But like some people think like like some post-punk people are like, they were anti something. Like, I'm not going to play it like this. I'm going to play it like that. Because I remember the first time I really paid attention to your brother as a drummer, I remember thinking, he plays so cool. He always plays cool stuff. And he's not trying to be flash or...
Right.
He always plays like just cool stuff on the songs. Yeah. He obviously can play drums. It's not like he lacks skill.
Yeah.
But it's not everybody most drummers want to show off. Most of the arguments with drummers are like, you need to calm it down.
He's the opposite. And he was schooled by a jazz guy.
Okay.
So he has that, that was his, he took lessons from this jazz guy, Keith Cumberpatch. And
good name.
Yeah. And if you notice, Kevin holds the sticks
it's traditional,
jazz style. And he's just very tasteful and subtle.
But I would say that about your playing too. You know what I mean? It's like,
thanks.
It's just interesting that it's sort of in the family, but I don't know if that's a fair way to put it.
I think also Kevin and I influenced each other playing together. We would listen intently to each other and what we were playing and respond accordingly.
I see, yeah.
So there is that sort of nuance.
Yeah.
So that is a family thing, I suppose.
Yeah. So I recently came across this clip. It's like maybe from one of your earliest gigs at Video. I'm sure you probably saw it at some point, but you guys are playing. You sound like Bauhaus already. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's pretty early in the process. I think you formed
in the pub.
Yeah, it's like a grainy video.
Yeah, I think that was it. The Racehorse pub, or
it's kind of from the side looking up.
I think it was the Romany pub. I think that was. 1979. That was one of our very first gigs.
But it's wild to me because you already sound like the band.
Yeah,
like if you heard my band early on, you don't sound like the band later.
Right. Yeah.
Was that an
I don't know.
instant communication thing?
It was. I was the last to join the band because prior to that, I had been in other bands with Daniel, but I would kind of call the shots to a degree, and I knew that he wanted to call the shots, and he
Right.
wanted this band to be kind of like his band. Not that he's like domineering in that way, but he didn't want me involved because he didn't want my strong influence, and I totally understood that.
What was his? Sorry to interrupt. What was his musical vision? Say pre-Bauhaus.
Yeah.
Since you knew him, what was?
Yeah.
Who did he want to be, or what did he want it to be?
Just very stripped down, nothing superfluous, nothing unnecessary, honed, like razor sharp, just simple, direct. And I love all of that minimalism, But this is 1978, and I'd committed to go to Germany to play on American air bases with a funk disco band. And it's quite good money and like a regular gig, and you live out there. So I'd learned like 60 of these funk disco tracks on the bass. And this was a couple of days before I was due to go to Hamburg. And Daniel knocked on my door and asked me to join the band. Now, just prior to that, he'd asked if I would come down to their rehearsal room and just give my opinion, especially of the singer, because Daniel, he wasn't entirely sure about the singer. I don't know why he wasn't sure. Mainly, I suppose, because Peter had never sung before, not on the stage. He was working in a printer's factory. And he was Daniel's best mate at school, and he looked great, and that's the main reason that Daniel.
It's such an incredible voice. It's such a.
I know
he could have been the worst singer in the world.
I know, and he could have got away with it. But so I go down there to check him out, and I'm just completely blown away by this kid, And then Daniel, at the end of it, he sidles up to me and says, "What do you think?" I said, "Daniel, he's solid gold. Come on, he's like." So charismatic, and he's got a great voice.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed, and I like also the music, and it was that kind of honed, simple minimalism, and I so wanted to be a part of it, Billy, but I couldn't say anything. It's like, fair enough.
Yeah.
But he came round, and I'm so glad he did, Daniel.
How much longer after you saw them? Sort of, it's called tryout-ish.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So
isn't it? Sorry, interrupt, but interesting because I have moments like that where it's like your life could have gone a totally different direction if it wasn't for that thing happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That's where it feels fated to me. When you say that, it's like that's the stars align. You're like, because your brother's already playing.
Yeah,
you seem like a no-brainer now in hindsight, but at the time it wasn't.
Yeah, it's very true.
Your brother could have been like, "No, I don't want my brother in the band," and that would have been the end of it, right?
Yeah. Could have been. But I think it's interesting as well in that all that sort of homeschooling that I did with the funk and the disco, it came out. And it comes out into Bauhaus, but in a kind of, I call it twisted disco.
Yeah.
It comes out, but it's, there's some disco bass lines there, some real funk bass lines.
Yeah.
Things like Kick in the Eye, In Fear, Dancing. It's there, But I think it's only there because I did that intensive, session.
Well, to fanboy for a second, to me, Bauhaus is one of the greatest bands ever. So that's easy for me to say. And what makes it so interesting to me in hindsight is, like all the great bands, there's something about the amalgam of the influences and the personalities. It just works.
Chemistry,
It shouldn't, but it does. And I think it's easy now in hindsight to recognize that. So bear with me; it's a little long-winded. But
sure,
but when I 2001, I'm living in New York, and I knew the guys from New Order a little bit. I met Hooky even before the Pumpkins' first album, so I knew him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this call at home, and they're asking me to come to England because they're reforming New Order. And they're making a record, and they want me to be on the record, which was curious to me why, but I did go. So that begins my maturation process of getting to know New Order, the people, the band.
Mhm.
Now, as a New Order fan, I'd always completely overly intellectualized who they were, why they did what they did. And when I got around them, I realized I was completely wrong.
Mhm.
They're completely intuitive creatures. It's not to say they lack intelligence. They're actually very
Sure.
bright guys, all of them.
Mhm.
But I'd always figured there was like, they would sit around and talk about Kierkegaard or some and then do the songs. And there's none of that with them. Mostly it was like, I'd say, well, how did you guys work? How we just do cocaine for 3 days. Of course, they call it Charlie. We'll do Charlie for 3 days, and whatever came out, that's what came out. And I'm thinking like, I mean, you're not talking about Dada? You know what I mean? It's like and I think I did the same thing with you guys. So the setup on the question is, did you guys have an intellectual kind of conversation at the beginning? You are named for an art movement.
Yeah. No.
I love it.
No, we never discuss it.
That makes it, to me, that makes it even more brilliant because whatever came out of it had such an aesthetic underpinning. And I'm not saying it was just the visuals and the name.
Yeah.
It's in the music.
Yeah, with the name Bauhaus, see, I came up with that. And why I came up with that
What a great name.
Yeah, I applied it to the original school in Weimar and their ideology, and that was about, everything stripped down, everything is functional. It's the functional as the art and streamlined. And I just thought, this is kind of what we're doing with the music, so it resonates,
So you're the intellectual overlay.
Well, everybody, has a leaning in that area to a degree.
Yeah.
I came up with the name, having been to art school. Danny was at art school as well, because so was my brother. And Peter nearly went to art school. So we're all, of that.
I just find it fascinating because there's such a depth in the aesthetics of Bauhaus's musical output.
Mm.
And it's, it's varied, and obviously there's a ton of influences, but it blows my mind that when I started listening to you guys when I was 17, 18, that there was no, like, you guys didn't sit around and talk about, I don't know, Dolly or something, it just blows my mind because I got that out of the music.
We would sit around and talk about Dolly and Dada.
But you know what I'm
saying. We wouldn't apply it to the music. We never talked about the music. Only after we'd done it, and it was whether it was any good or not.
So give me a. You can be specific or general. How does the band work in its prime? Like somebody comes in, I got an idea, and everybody just does what they want to do. Like how did it actually function from writing to recording? Because more bloviating here, but what strikes me, and again, I've been listening since '84. What strikes me is there's such variance in production, approach, and, of course you guys get the moniker of the goth thing, but there's humor, there's unexpected things. Your B-sides are some of the coolest B-sides ever because they're just like, it sounds like you guys are just having a laugh. Like the band didn't take itself too seriously.
No,
at least that was my impression.
No, it's true. Yeah.
So
sometimes we did.
But we had
those moments,
I'm saying. But I'm saying
of levity,
when people try to tell me my music's depressing, it's like, I'm in a band called the Smashingpumpkins. How depressing can it be, right? It's a joke.
Right.
So my point is just walk me through as a fan, being the fan, walk me through, a prototypical, somebody shows up with an idea and here's how it ends up on the record. Like, I really want to know the fascination for me as a fan is, how did it work politically? Like,
okay. We would, as I say, we did not discuss it, and we would often turn up without any ideas at all.
Even better.
And we wouldn't even talk to each other, and we'd pick up our instruments and just start playing. With Bela, I'd written those lyrics the day before, and that's all we had. And I handed a sheet of those lyrics to Peter. And then, it's a good example, actually, to illustrate what I'm talking about, because then we all just started making this row, and out of the row, it something emerges. It's sort of out of the fog, and what emerged that time was the sounds that Daniel was making, and those chords, that descending chord, the chord sequence that he actually got from Gary Glitter. Rock
Even
and roll.
better.
Yeah, that was because I asked him about it afterwards, and that was what was in his head, but it kind of mutated and became weird, and then he added the echo, and then Kevin plays, of all things, a bossa nova, because that was something that he'd learned from his jazz teacher, you know. He only knew 2 rhythms, and that was one.
Yeah.
So he started playing that, and it fits so perfectly. And then when we added the echo to it, it becomes something other.
Yeah.
It becomes, you know, bossa nova in dub. And then I listened, and I heard that descending bass line, and I played it. It's not just single notes; it's actually octaves. And it all just gelled together, and it was a shivery moment when that all happened together. And then Peter starts to intone those lyrics pretty much as you hear it on the record.
Wow.
And we just knew we had something magic.
Okay, so Take Me in the Studio, because that was your first single. So continue example. So are you guys the type of band like you do what you do, I'll do what I do, and everybody kind of leaves each other alone, or is there everybody got an opinion?
Everybody's certainly got an opinion, and it's open to anybody doing anything.
Okay.
And we don't have to stick to our given instruments. You know, we can do whatever.
Yeah.
Just suggest the idea or try it, you know, and see if it works. As we went on, it became a bit more structured in that we would bring ideas for songs to the band. Sometimes like something that's half written with the chords and the lyrics and everything. Or sometimes Daniel comes in, he's got a chord progression, and I've got some lyrics, or Peter's got some lyrics, and we just throw it all together. And quite often it worked. Yeah. Very spontaneous.
It feels that way.
Very instinctual.
That's why I think it's fascinating for me, because if you're saying we didn't sit around and talk about how to do it, we just did it.
Yeah.
And then the results are so strong. There's must have been a strong intuitive sense that we're headed the right direction collectively.
Yeah. Very much so.
Do you ever look back and sort of, I don't know, I'm not talking about it in a sentimental frame, but like, there's I guess what the word I'm looking for is magic sometimes. It's like stuff just kind of happens. It's quicksilver.
Absolutely. That, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a particular chemistry with that band.
That's why I say you guys are one of the great bands, because there's something about the 4 communications that really holds very strongly across all the work.
Yeah. And there was also part and parcel of it was a personal friction.
Okay, but I'm not a gossip guy, but give me the sense of the politics of the friction, maybe is a better way to ask the question. Like in my band, this might shock people. In my band, I actually wanted a democracy.
Yeah.
I just figured out very quickly that was not going to work. Part of that was I was writing most of the songs. So at some point you just start to assert power because it's your songs.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be challenged. I wanted people to come in with a better song than me. I literally would beg my mates to write stuff. They just weren't interested, or it wasn't part of their sort of DNA.
Yeah.
So I never had to necessarily live in that type of political atmosphere. But, you know, every band, to make you laugh, it's obvious to me, listening to the band, that as far as Heath saw it was Chris Squire's band, because the bass is loud. And he's basically kind of running the shop on the musical side of the equation. Now, if you ask John Anderson, who I met, lovely guy, he probably thought it was his band with Chris Squire. But for me, from having been in bands, we've been in bands, I look and I go, no, Chris Squire thought it was his band. Does it make sense the way I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
And I'm not saying who was Bauhaus's band, but I'm saying how did it work politically when you had friction?
Yeah, we never had that kind of attitude. We all had the attitude that it is a democracy and it's our band.
Okay.
And everybody's really important.
Okay.
You know.
Was there ever a moment where it was like they were like, but you two are brothers? Did you get that?
No.
Because in my band, James and Darcy were a couple.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we get into political stuff, they would vote as a block.
No, that wasn't the case with us at all.
Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I'm really curious on how the band worked politically, because...
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah.
Well, for a start, we had the old thing of, the singer is singled out.
Yeah.
And people just like when the press came in to the picture, they just want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And it rubbed us up the wrong way. And, you just sort of, you harbor this kind of, it's you begrudge it to a degree. And then the other side of that is, Peter kind of enjoyed that, that being in the limelight,
Yeah.
and did not shy away from it. Fair enough, but it went a bit far, So there's that. It's a very common story.
Yeah.
With bands, and there was a kind of separation there. It was, us three over here and him over there.
Did you feel, looking back now? I mean, I don't know where everybody is at the moment, but looking back now, do you have a more empathy for that, or do you see it as kind of annoying?
I have more understanding of it. Yeah, in a way, there's empathy.
Because the way I look at it, because I try not to personalize, because sometimes I'll see these types of things happen in other artists, and I try not to project my own feelings. I try to think that must have been unique. Like, for example, being around, Nirvana circa 92, suddenly it was all about one guy.
Mm.
I knew behind the scenes it's not really how it operated, and I knew everybody a little bit.
Yeah.
But you could see that, the magnetism of the moment, sort of starts to pull people in a different direction.
Sure. Yeah, that's an extreme example there, the one you just mentioned.
Sure, but I just use it to illustrate the example that it's
a good example.
History has a way of picking certain people.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I have to say, Peter is not the easiest person to work with.
Do tell.
He's brilliant, but
yeah. Can you quantify that a bit in a like a working musician way? What makes him difficult?
God. Again, that's complex.
I mean, I know him just a little bit because we spent a little time together. Obviously, a very strong personality.
Yeah. He sort of has a tendency to lean towards the paranoid a bit, and see things that aren't necessarily there, and prejudice that's not there, and take it personally, and that causes a lot of problems. And it's something that isn't even talked about until it's resulted in some fracas, something very undesirable. Just a big personality clash. But you see, how we would work this out is that we would go on stage and we would direct all that frustration on both sides into the music and the performance. And it would be a kind of exorcism. And it'd be very extreme and very intense. And we'd come off the stage and we'd be best mates again. Until the next gig. Or the bus ride to the gig. Where somebody says something inappropriate. And then it all starts again.
First time I heard you guys, I was dating this woman and she was staying at somebody's apartment or something. And I'd spent the night. So imagine I've had a bit of a long night with this person, and she gets up and she pops a cassette in, and the song she's playing is Care Couple Kill Colonel. That's it. Should I say that 5 times fast? And I still have a holographic memory of being in this foreign apartment, and I'm thinking, what is she playing and why is it so out of tune? Now, I grew up with a musician father, and I was already playing music a bit. And I just remember thinking, why would somebody want to listen to this music? I had like an almost allergic reaction to it. And severe, and I didn't think it was terrible. I was just like, why would anyone want to listen to this? And I swear to God, the next day I woke up and I was like, I want to listen to that again.
Oh.
And I was in. I literally went from, and 24 hours later, I was like, I need to listen to this band again. And then I was like, every song, every album.
Yeah. Well, we would lean into the atonal.
But isn't it, I don't know if that's, I'm almost asking myself the question, but I find it fascinating that it hit me so sideways that I couldn't let it go.
Right.
I had no means by which to process it. Because I had a musician father who was a very good musician. Yeah. So in his world, it would have been like, well, why is the guitar out of tune? Or why is the bass player not really playing a rhythm?
Yeah.
What is happening? What is this arrangement?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Well, a big thing for us was not doing the obvious and not being rock.
Yeah.
And not being predictable and just sort of cookie cutter, to go against the grain of that. If we came up with something that was, it sounded too, we'd say too straight, then we'd hit up.
Yeah.
On purpose. We really like Devo, and we like their approach to music in general.
Kind of de-evolution.
Very early Devo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just looking at instruments in a very conventional way. I mean, Daniel's always been brilliant at that.
Yeah.
A guitar is not necessarily something that you strum. You can hit it with a stick.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get the right sound out of the thing.
It's probably an unfair question, but is there an intuitive sense or an intellectual sense where you go, "Oh, this is too straight"? Like, how do you come to that decision? Because listening to your music, over this long period of time, you've again and again and again chosen the unconventional path.
It just becomes glaringly apparent, and then we would immediately act to rectify that situation.
But is it a bad analogy? But in my mind, sometimes when I'm trying to do deconstructionist music, I call it Jenga. I'm trying to remove pieces until it, like, if you know anything about what is the thing, homeopathy, the concept of homeopathy, where you take something and you cut it so many times that if you actually scientifically measure, the germ is not even
right.
scientifically,
yeah.
but somehow it retains an essence. You take something which is supposed to be inert, and so you get the benefit effect of your body recognizing it as an allergen.
Yes.
So it's like removing musical components to it. It's like almost like a skeleton of the original idea. It retains some imprint of the original inspiration, but you've somehow mangled it or twisted into something unfamiliar.
A distillation.
Okay.
Yeah, refine.
But I'm asking for a process. Is there a process that you have, or is it just a felt process?
It is felt, but it is that process of taking away. So it's kind of like sculpture in a way.
Ah, okay.
We're not adding, we're taking away.
Yeah.
And then it's like, quite often in the studio, we'd be hearing a track back and we wouldn't think, what can we add to this? We'd think, what can we take away from this?
Yeah.
That was pretty key, actually, for Bauhaus.
Yeah. Yeah, it strikes me in a lot of your work, there's a minimalism, and I think that's not the right word, but maybe what I'm after is I'm always impressed by how confident your musical life has been to let things be simple or imperfect or just be what they are. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a slight to say imperfect. It's like, it doesn't sound like somebody took 45 takes to get the vocal just right. They sang it and that's the take, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's authentic.
Okay, so that's what I'm after. Like,
authenticity
where did you get
is very important.
Where did you get that confidence? Because most young musicians don't have that kind of confidence.
We were so confident. Yeah, we just knew what we wanted, and we knew that we were good.
Well, yeah. I found this quote from Andy Gill, who was, at the time, an NME columnist. He called you guys a hip Black Sabbath.
Oh, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's kind of a compliment, really, to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, as we sit here in 2026, goth has become kind of its own phenomenon. Fashion, there's goth bands aplenty.
All pervasive.
Right? Of course, did they call it goth back then?
No.
Was there a word?
No, there was not.
So just sitting here now, I mean, do you, these kind of early days of what became, an idiomatic thing, how do you reflect on it now?
To
me as a fan, you guys are way more than goth, but that's sort of the lazy writer's just going to call you guys a goth.
Yeah. Well, it was post-punk, and that term was around, and we didn't mind that at all. And it was, I mean, punk was very influential. That was you very early on in this interview. You asked about those moments.
Yeah.
one of those moments, big time for me, was seeing the Sex Pistols and the Clash at the 100 Club in 1976 with my brother, and being in that audience, saying to Kevin, this is the way. And we formed a punk band there and then, and played like 2 weeks later. And Daniel was into that whole thing as well. He almost joined that band, but that's another story. But that punk evolved very quickly, and it became a form that could be influenced by all sorts of genres and all sorts of influences. And I think that was a really great period for music, like 1978, 79. Bands like the Pop Group, you mentioned Andy Gill, the other Andy Gill in Gang of Four. Bands in the States like Perubu. Just a very exciting, kind of expansive music that was reaching for the stars. There was there was no limitations imposed on it. It was necessary for limitations to be imposed when punk was happening.
Yeah.
Because it was like ground zero. Everything had to be burnt down and then
I see.
reconstructed in a very simple way.
Yeah.
Okay, we've established this now. Now we can expand on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
even like, thinking of like even Gary Newman, who kind of took some aspect of the Bowie thing and kind of blew it out the other side. Yeah.
And again, with Gary, it's very streamlined, very minimal.
Yeah, there's a beauty there. I didn't know you guys had toured America in 1980. That strikes me.
Yeah.
That must have been
Chicago.
I saw that.
Yeah. Wax tracks.
Well, you guys were beloved in Chicago. I think that's the atmosphere that I first encountered you in. It wasn't like some girl had a tape and I listened to you. Like once I was on to suddenly there were Bauhaus fans everywhere that I knew in the world that I was inhabiting in. And the wax track scene was intrinsically tied to but I didn't know you guys had been to Chicago. But just if you can reflect on America, because it seems to me it's the UK's funny, and I'm sure you guys got plenty of stick for being weirdos, but coming to America in 1980, doing what you're doing, that must have been like coming in from Mars.
Yeah. Some of the truck stops were pretty hairy. Yeah. We were actually pursued on a couple of occasions by irate truckers.
Probably some of my relatives, yeah. But if you can give me a musical snapshot, you know what I mean? Because again, I think you guys are so fully formed out of the egg. So I know the music was really good. I'd have to go try to find bootlegs or something. But so I know you guys are up there doing your thing, and there's real strength there. Are you seeing something in the American crowd yet, or is it too early, or what? Like, I'm just looking for a snapshot impression.
Well, the first city that got us and got into us was New York. That's the first place we went to in America. And there was a connection there, certainly. And one of the other places was Chicago, of course. New York, we had a wonderful our first day in New York, introduction to New York City. We were staying at the Iroquois Hotel, famous rock and roll hotel. And the first day we're in there, of course, we will make a beeline for the little bar. And it was just us in there. And the bartender, and there was one vacant stall, which was soon occupied by Iggy Pop, who, of course, is one of our all-time heroes. He ordered a beer, in that voice. And we heard the voice, and so we were kind of nudging each other. Iggy Pop, And he cottoned on to this. He said, "Hey, guys, you look like you're in a band, In a band?" Yes, yeah. "What's the band?" And I said, Bauhaus. He goes, "Oh, like Weimar, Germany? Cool." And then we engaged with him, and he was not disappointing. And he said that he would come and see us because we had 2 gigs lined up. One little club, Tier 3, I think it was called, tiny little place, and then Danceteria.
Okay.
In the interim, we were going up to Toronto and to Chicago, and then we went back to New York. And the plan was to create a buzz with his first gig, and hopefully sell out Danceteria, which was a bigger gig. And it was the gig to play at the time, which happened. Well, that happened. So we get back to New York and play Danceteria. And there, down the front, is Iggy Pop. In his black leather biker's jacket, baiting Peter. So, come on, mother, bring it, bring it. And he was there for the whole gig.
Uh-huh.
And then we come off. And so we're like, hey, that was Iggy down the front, right? And all of a sudden, door bursts open. He comes in like a kung fu guy. Hey, guys, that was great. Said, I saw the name. I was in a car. I saw the name, Bauhaus, and I remember you guys from the whole time. I thought, oh, okay, I'll check them out. I said to the driver, keep the motor running because these guys, they think they're it, but they're probably, man, and I'm probably going to be back soon. But I'm here, and he's still out there, so there you go.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was great. That was a nice affirmation.
Well, that's providence, right? It's like
yeah,
meant to be. Meant to be.
Meant to be, yeah. Because we had some big influences in America, as well as like the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Bowie. Velvet Underground, probably the biggest.
Sure, yeah.
And MC5 and the Stooges.
Yeah.
All of those bands.
Did you ever get to know Lou at all?
No.
Oh. Did you ever meet him?
No. John Cale and Nico.
Yeah, I saw you guys play with Nico.
Yeah. Nico wanted us to be her backing band. Like
that would have been a
regular band,
That would have been amazing.
After she'd sung with us a couple of times. Yeah.
Did you consider it?
We considered it for about 20 minutes.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Would have been amazing. I mean, like it probably didn't make any sense in reality, but musically, that seems so perfect.
Well, I was telling the story to a friend the other day, and she remarked that it would have been very interesting if we'd gone into the studio with her.
Yeah.
And did something. At that time. This is like 1981.
Yeah. With that atmosphere.
Yeah, maybe with John Cale producing it.
There you go. I knew Lou a little bit, and he liked me for some reason, which, he was such an intimidating presence.
I can imagine.
But for some reason, he liked me. So whenever I saw him, he was really sweet to me.
All right,
know? And then this is in the time when I was being interviewed a lot, and I'd sit down for the interviews, and the interview would end, and they go, that was tough. I go, what do you mean tough? You're really tough to interview, you know what I mean? You're the, and this happened multiple times, so this isn't a one-time story. You're the second toughest interview I've ever done. I would go, who the first? Lou.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Lou would just torture these people.
You would lacerate them. He'd just play games.
Amazing. God bless Lou.
Yeah.
Defined for me, if you know, because I saw it in reference to the exquisite corpse technique. Do you know this technique?
Of course.
Okay, please tell me. Because I'd never heard of it before.
I was the one that brought it to the band. And it's a surreal, kind of a surrealist parlor game, if you will.
Okay.
And it's based on the old thing of consequences, a consequences drawing, where you fold a sheet of paper into four.
My kids who are in the other room, they love doing that.
Okay.
They do it all the time.
And somebody draws the head, continues the neckline down, then somebody then folds it over and then shows it.
Would you record that way?
Yeah.
Ah.
So you pass it to the next person and they
Didn't Bowie do that on Low too? Something similar? Do you know about that?
I don't know.
I think what I heard is Visconti was there and Eno was there. They would bring in somebody like Fripp and they wouldn't play him what the other people had done.
I've heard of that. Yeah. But we would, more specifically apply the exquisite corpse idea to music. In that, the first time we did that was that we would have an allotted time of 1 minute to do whatever we wanted, and we'd have 4 tracks total. And we'd have a pre-recorded, a beat that goes through the whole thing.
Yeah, so that's your unifier.
Yes, exactly. 5 minutes. And then each of us would take turns without hearing what the other person had done and record their part. And the last 5 minutes, which was real fun, was that we would have 2 tracks each, and we'd each just record 2 tracks that related to the whole minute that we'd just done. And then we just, the moment of revelation, play it back. And it was extraordinary how we did that a couple of times, how that worked out.
Is there a song you can point to that's like the best example? And I got to hear this, or I know it.
Yeah, on the third album, I think it's called Exquisite Chords.
Mm.
There's a track that uses that technique. Yeah.
That sounds so cool. It struck me at the time when I was listening to you in a contemporary frame, when the band was still intact before Breakup 1, that you kind of seemed to exist in your own atmosphere, which I know isn't true, but that's what it felt like to me. But what was your awareness of other groups? You know, some groups are hostile to other groups. They're overly ambitious. Like, what was once you guys kind of took off and started running, what was your sort of logic in the time?
We were kind of in our own little corner, and we didn't really hang out with other bands as such.
Kind of got that feeling.
Yeah, we were our own little gang.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what Pete Townsend says. It says people are attracted to gangs.
Yeah.
They want to hang out in the band because they want to be in the gang. That's what he told me.
Yeah. I mean, we were very aware of other groups, and we had great respect for some of those groups, like Joy Division, and the pop group, and the Birthday Party, who we took on tour with us, and they were so impressive. I mean, my brother and I would go out and watch them practically every night. We did like 20 dates with them, and just be blown away. Oh, they were much better than Bauhaus at that time.
I would beg to differ.
I felt they should have been headlining. They're just so exciting, just so. It was wild and abandoned, but and just sort of, and talk about atonal, but they would all, if they veered off wildly to the left, they'd all do it.
I see.
And veer off back to the right, they'd all do it, and it would just be either like this machine, you know. Yeah, very impressive. But they were such a little gang, all to themselves.
Well, I definitely got that vibe.
Yeah.
So how ambitious was the band? Like, because with anything that's artistically rooted, at some point, the reality of the record business is staring in front of you. You know, do you work with the big producer? Do you sell out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How ambitious was the band?
We had huge ambition, but we really wanted to do it on our own terms. And we weren't averse to commercial suicide. Much to the chagrin of our record label.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't play that game.
Yeah.
No, it has to be authentic. That's the main thing. It's always been the main thing.
Yeah.
And that runs through everything I've done.
Well, the song All We Ever Wanted Was Everything comes to mind, which sort of rings true within the context of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring it up is I performed with you guys once on stage, which was a great honor. Peter said, it might have been you, I feel like it was Peter, but said, what do you want to sing? And I said, All We Ever Wanted Was Everything. And it's like, you guys were like, but all of you were like, sure.
Yeah.
We're not playing it currently, but we'll just do it. So we went out and did it. And then Peter was insistent that I sing Telegram Sam with you guys. And I kept thinking, this is a bad idea, but okay.
No, that works.
But my memory of the gig, beyond that you guys were so gracious and nice and cool, which didn't surprise me, but it was nice to meet people that you like. And then at that time, my public vibe in Chicago was very poor, probably because I've been running my mouth too much. So I don't remember how I was brought on stage, but when I came out on stage, I think it was at the Riviera Theater in Chicago. I walked out on stage and the whole crowd did one of these, like, oh, I hear them groaning. Like, because in Chicago, the OG goth crowd and the OG post-punk crowd was all out there and forced to see you guys. So I didn't have a lot of love from that crowd at the time. So when I walked out, there was this kind of audible groan. And I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And the beautiful memory that I have, you were there too, but is the merging of my high voice with Peter's low voice and us singing together. You could have heard a pin drop. It was so beautifully like, wow, this is really working. And it was that chill that you get in the air sometimes where like you don't hear a sound. It went from groaning to absolute still quiet. And when the song ended, it was like one of those, like, it even took like 4 seconds for people to applaud. And it was like this kind of,
yeah.
like
it was a good choice of song.
Well, God bless. Well, you guys wrote it, but that's my enduring memory of that moment. It was, I guess what I'm saying to you personally is you honored me by bringing me out there, but also it was a way to say f you to this crowd who was treating me quite poorly because I myself had made some really severe artistic choices.
Yeah.
And because I was going that way, as you do sometimes when you don't go against the crowd, you know, I was getting a lot of stick at home because I'd gone out in the world and been successful.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming back kind of beaten down.
In doing that, you're embracing the essence of Bauhaus as well.
Well, God bless. But I mean, you're, for lack of a better word, your public endorsement of having me up there with you was like a way of saying to all of you off. You know, like if my heroes are willing to have me up here, what you think about me is you're kind of missing the mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When we started, I mean, we got a lot of resistance and we really relished kicking against that. It was very inspiring. It was much better than if, you know, everybody accepted us and they were going nuts about us straight from the off.
Yeah.
The resistance, you know, that's the thing that, the friction, you know, it makes the pearl in the oyster, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, what they call the sand in the oyster.
Yeah.
It makes the pearl. It brings to mind when you guys did Ziggy Stardust, because as the story goes, please correct me, that you guys were being compared to Bowie. You're ripping off Bowie. Yeah. So you guys were like, okay, we'll just do Ziggy Stardust.
Oh, that was a big part of that.
That's
for sure. Yeah.
So fantastic.
Yeah.
If you could just talk loosely about however you want, but like we've talked about T-Rex, we've talked a little bit about Bowie. We talked a little bit about Velvet Underground, but I always thought it was so cool that you guys had no problem paying tribute to your heroes. Like you would wrap your arms around them, no problem. Where a lot of bands try to pretend they don't have any influences. It seems to be a particular condition with alternative bands. They act like they never heard of another band.
Right.
Or if they pick a band, it's always some band from 27 years ago.
Yeah.
But you guys were like fully willing to embrace.
Yeah. Yeah. We wore those loves on our sleeves.
Yeah,
for sure.
But can you talk about that a little bit? Like, was that just something you were... Not every band has that logic, so I'm just curious for your guys' logic.
I think it's really important to be a fan, you know, and to embrace that and to celebrate it and to recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, pay homage to it.
What did you know at the time when that came out, if David had any reaction at all to it, or did he like it?
We didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
I did hear secondhand that he said, I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, that he said, I should have done it like that. I really hope that's true. I don't know.
Sounds about right. Sorry, I had a bug on me. Only the finest on my set. Wow, the bug's really out to kill me.
It's not a drone, is it? It's a mini drone.
That would be funny, right? I'd forgotten about this, and then it all came back to me a flash. You guys being in the Hunger movie. Did you cross paths with David on the movie? Or was it one of those things where you just got...
No, I had a wonderful interaction with him. So this was a break during filming, and they're setting it up for the next scene.
Yeah.
Now, Bauhaus, we had this little kind of holding area that was right opposite Bowie's dressing room. And in the area, there was a jukebox, an old Wurlitzer. And beautiful thing, stacked with 45s, all great cuts, 50s, 60s, 70s. So, and it was all working. So when we could, we would play records. And I just found myself there on my own. And I was going to play a record, and I'm looking at all these great singles, and I became aware of a looming presence behind me, very strong presence.
Yes,
you know. And then I heard that voice. You know, do you mind if I pick one? And I turned around and said, please, you know. And so and now I was really intrigued to see what he was playing. Yeah. So he looks and punches the buttons. And what he played was Grooving with Mr. Blow.
I don't know
Mr.
that one.
Blow. It's an instrumental from 1970. It's a great track. Real up kind of beat. And he starts dancing in front of me, like full on, but arms in the air, just, you know. And just smiling that smile.
That 10,000 megawatt smile.
Yeah, really. And just eye contact. And just for the whole of the song, I'm just there thinking, how surreal is this? And but then I got cheeky with him. Because I remembered, it's kind of like this hubris that comes from being very nervous. And that's how it came out. When Low came out, I always thought that he'd cribbed the harmonica part on the track A New Career in a New Town from Grooving with Mr. Blow. And I said to him, this reminds me of something. He goes, oh yeah, what? I said, it's one of yours. He goes, what? Which one? I said, it's off for Low. He goes, come on. Which one? I said, A New Career in a New Town. With that, he put his finger to his lips and winked and carried on dancing. And then when the song finished, he walks by me and just pats me on the shoulder. So that was wonderful,
Yeah. He was something. He was something.
He was amazing.
I'm still trying to kind of put all those, I had various encounters with him, and I'm still trying to put those pieces together. Because I think he operated at so many levels that sort of like, it's still hard to understand all of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like his work is still kind of being figured out in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a wonderful gift he left us with that Black Star.
What strikes me most about him as an artist is kind of like a Velvet Underground. He inspired so many people in so many different directions.
Yeah.
It's like he gave a whole generation of kids permission to just be whoever they wanted to be.
Yeah, really true.
And in a way, you could kind of crib from him, and you could almost pay tribute, but it almost felt like more like tribute or honoring him than like stealing.
Yeah.
And he was kind of cool with that because he did it himself. So
Absolutely,
it was all part of the tradition.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just walk me through, because we're kind of getting to the part where the band starts to get funky here, but She's in Parties, just amazing single. But there's this sense, and I did it from research, but Peter's sick, so he's not at the sessions as much, and maybe this starts to become what becomes Love and Rock. It's like you guys kind of almost become more of a team without him. And can you just walk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, Peter was very ill in hospital with pneumonia. And we had the session booked at Rockfield Studios in Monmouth for that album. And we were hoping that, he'd recover enough to go there. But I remember we paid him a visit in the hospital. And now this is my recollection of it, is that we said to him, what do you want us to do, Pete? Should we hold back and wait for you? And I remember him giving his blessing, say, no, go start it. And I'll come down and I'll, do my bit when I'm ready and better. So that's what we did. Of course, we get there and we started, it was kind of, that album was kind of half written, but half of it was written there and then in the studio, which was the idea. But we were on tour at that time. So you know how it gets, that the time for writing becomes very precious and few and far between. So you end up with like a half written album.
I see.
And it was kind of exciting. The idea of writing on the spot is exciting as well. And we did do that. And Daniel came up with a song where he sang the lead vocal, A Slice of Life.
All right.
And I came up with a song called Who Killed Mr. Moonlight. Now, originally, I imagined Peter singing that. And I did like what I thought was a scratch vocal. Because it was pretty much fully formed, that song. I wrote it in the studio, but kind of there on my own. And the engineers said, I think this should be the vocal. It sounds great. It's your song. So we said, okay, yeah, that works. Peter can sing some great, harmonies on the end, Anyway, so this kind of stuff was going on. So when Peter finally did make it, he did not like the fact that we'd stepped in to what he perceived to be, and rightly enough, his position as a singer,
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he said, what am I going to do on this? Play the bloody tambourine? If we do this live, what am I going to play the tambourine? So it created a bit of a schism there, yeah, for sure.
So the band seems to dissipate Well, the band basically dissipates before the album even comes out, right? Isn't it? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was falling apart in the studio.
So what's just the simple version will do? But like, just suddenly just everybody turns around and says, "That's it." I mean, because you guys kind of announced you're going to do this last gig, and then there's like a couple gigs, and then that's it. There's no big send off or anything.
Well, we had dates booked, and we at this point, we were playing big places now, and it had gone up, another tier.
Yeah.
And I remember we were booked to do a TV show. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a big show at the time, and we were going to play 2 songs live on this show. It was a big deal, and the record label were really invested in us doing the show, and it's another thing that's going to jettison us further.
Going to the top.
Yeah, we're going to the top of most of the pubs. And I remember we played the gig in London at the Hammersmith Palais, and then we were back at the hotel, and we had a huge row. I can't remember what it was about, probably nothing. And we were all in separate rooms, and I remember a lot of doors being slammed, a lot of doors slamming going on down the corridors, and also objects being thrown in rooms. And by the end of that night, we'd made a phone call to say, we're not doing the TV show.
Wow.
And we're done.
That's it. Play the one more gig and that's it, right? Because you had 2 gigs. That's at least what I saw.
Yeah. Was that right?
The apocryphal thing, and again, it might be, maybe it's a...
No. I think it's just a TV show that was blown off.
Okay. Because there's this bit in there where as you're walking off stage, you say "rest in peace."
Yeah. Because we knew.
Okay.
Anyway, we knew.
Oh, okay, I see.
But then it was confirmed by the fracas that followed.
So
we thought we were going to do, okay, we'll just do the TV show and then see how we feel, but it never got that far.
Oh, I see. But did you, you guys had only been together about 4 years.
Yeah.
So were you okay with it?
Seemed like 20.
Yeah, well, that's how those things go. Like you look back at your itinerary, you're probably working almost every other day, and it's all that stuff. It goes fast.
It was that, and just this building friction. See, when the 3 of us were there in the studio, it was so easy going, and we were having a real good time. We had this flow going, and it just felt good, And then as soon as Peter did come, it just kind of caused disruptions.
Do you think
again.
People were in his ear trying to do the "you should go solo" thing?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It was that as well. Yeah,
that's usually part of it.
Yeah, and I remember we did have a crate of champagne in the studio that had been put aside for when we finished the album. And when we did finish the album, we found out there was 1 bottle left, and Champagne Charlie, Mr. Murphy, had necked it. So that didn't go down well either.
Okay, so before we get into Love and Rockets, because I do love Love and Rockets as well. Thank you for indulging me on all the Bauhaus stuff. Because you've lived in this schism for so long, and the word I own a professional wrestling company, and the word we use in professional wrestling is kabuki. And what kabuki means in professional wrestling is the artifice gets so out there that it no longer is, it can no longer be believed. Does that make sense the way I'm framing it?
Yeah.
Like, it's understood professional wrestling is artifice, but if it gets too whacked out, it almost becomes comical.
Yeah.
And we call that kabuki.
Oh, okay.
So as somebody who's lived in the schism between surreality, reality, art, commerce, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you view the line of pretense is maybe a better way to put it? It's a weird question, but I figured you would be perfectly suited because you've lived it. I knew early on I was jumping off of whatever artistic ship I was on because I wanted whatever gold was over the other hill. I wanted what Led Zeppelin had, you know what I mean? Like, I loved art bands, but I wanted to be Led Zeppelin too,
Yeah. If this answers your question, I'm not sure. We never felt that we betrayed our desire, our quest for authenticity.
Yeah.
We never did that.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying you're uniquely voiced because you never did jump to that other side.
No. Well, yes, I agree.
But is there a moment where you're in a studio somewhere, you're writing a song, and it's like, I'm not saying it's the devil on your shoulder. You know what I mean?
Oh, where we're saying,
because,
oh, hold on a minute, this is not authentic.
Sure. Or, well, if I just added this chord, you understand. There's tidal forces that go on. There's a record company. There's a manager. We once shared the same manager.
Yes, we did.
And, he was in my ear before I even had an album.
Yeah.
In fact, he once told me, our mutual manager, he once told me, what is with all this heavy riffing you're doing? Stick to love songs. You're really good at that.
Oh.
And I told him, you don't understand what's happening. I mean, I see this thing coming, and we're right in the middle of this thing that's coming. And he was like, but you can write pop music. Like, just stick to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was one track that we recorded called Sanity Assassin, and it's a very strong track, and it's kind of commercial, but without betraying essential authenticity at all. But again, it's going back to this whole thing of us and our perception of what is rock, and that being a bit of a dirty word back then, because it's just too straight, And we had this track, and I remember Martin Mills from the record label Beggar's Banquet came down to hear the playback, and that was on the tape, and it's actually the first thing that came up because we wanted to get it out of the way. And now here's the album, Martin. But he heard that and he said, "Stop tape." Said, "That's the single. That's oh my God, that's the single." And we had to break it to him that not only is it not a single, it's not going on the album, but we are going to release it as a limited edition of 400 just for the fan club, which is what we did, Thinking back, I think that was not a good idea.
Yeah,
and it sounds great, that track. I don't know if that
yeah, no, it
speaks to what you're asking.
Yeah,
me
no, I
about
get
here.
it's just a rummage around. I know I said this before in a slightly different way, but when I was young, I was in awe of artists who lived it. So you guys were that, Joy Division was that, Bowie was that,
yeah.
and I added my own intellectual overlay to that about what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into the record business, and like a lot of young people do, you get imposter syndrome, or it's like, do I belong here? My own father didn't think I could be successful, so it's like I had somebody in my own ear going,
sure.
Good luck, you're not going to make it. But I found over time, there's a point to this ramble, is I found over time that a lot of the people I thought were purists in the game weren't purists at all. They just picked a lane that worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
They were never going to be pop stars, so they were going to be independents and act cool and wear the right t-shirt, but they're not lifers. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of examples where I could point to where it's like the band with all the integrity in the world, when as soon as the record company came calling with the right check or the right opportunity, right? But you're actually somebody who lived it. Do you know what I mean? So you have a unique perspective. So whatever you add to that perspective is interesting to me because you actually lived it. It's not an intellectual construct for you. You made a decision as a young person, as did your brother, that's who you were going to be, and you've been that person the entire time. It's not. I'm not saying it's a commitment like a nun. It's just a commitment to something you really believe in.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's too much of a speech.
It's always been the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay. So go, please.
I was going to say that, and that continue with Love and Rockets, big time.
But there's a ... At least on first blush, because I was listening from the first, it seemed that you guys were willing to embrace everything that Bauhaus didn't embrace, like catchy choruses. And I'm not saying Bauhaus didn't have catchiness, but you know what I'm saying? It seemed to be like, okay, we're going to kind of go to the other side of the planet here and play around in the other sandbox. There were psychedelic influences. There was a little bit more overt pop.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like you guys were trying to suddenly be successful.
Yeah.
It seemed like you just made a decision. You just want to play on the other side of the kaleidoscope or something.
We really wanted to be successful, but it wasn't that was our main, the driving factor.
Yeah.
you mentioned psychedelia. See, Daniel and I were really into psychedelia, going way back. And Peter, it wasn't something that was shared with Peter. He wasn't really into that. So therefore, because a band is a democracy, that was somewhat oppressed, that influence. And then when Peter was not a part of this new band, that came out big time. And also it worked very well with the kind of zeitgeist at the time. There was the whole Paisley Underground happening in San Francisco, mid-'80s, and there was a real kind of rediscovery of great 60s psychedelia, bands like Love, Syd Barrett. And we loved all that stuff, And it was the kind of music that Daniel and I would listen to on the cassette in the car away from Peter. We'd blast early Pink Floyd and things like that. 13th Floor Elevators. So that came out big time, and it was a joyous kind of like expression of that influence. And we just found that we had a natural proclivity to come up with melody. And we were into melody. The Beatles as well. We were into the psychedelic Beatles, and all of that came into play. And we had a very important component in this was John A. Rivers, who was the engineer, co-producer on the first two albums, and he had a studio in Limited Spa, Woodbine Studios, and John was very much au fait with all of that psychedelia, and he was a great keyboard player and a great arranger, and he kind of became a fourth member of the band.
I didn't know that, yeah.
And he was a very important factor in the whole progression of the band.
Yeah. The decision to sing together a lot, you kind of sort of formed this one voice, and it reminds me when I first heard Lennon and McCartney, I didn't know there were two lead singers. I just remember them singing together on Meet the Beatles when I was a kid, and the sound of that, whatever happens with, phasing and comb filtering, but it was like, you guys made this interesting choice to sing a lot of the songs together.
Yeah, it was different to the Beatles in that it wasn't really harmony singing that we were doing. Although harmony, there are some harmonies.
Yeah, but there's a lot of unison, right?
It's just we're singing the same thing. So it's almost like double tracking, but two different voices.
Yeah, but was that I hate to say it was a decision, but like how'd you arrive at that? Maybe is a better question.
When we first got together to rehearse, we just, without talking about it, we had I remember the lyrics to the couple of songs that we had on the wall, and we both sort of dived in to sing these lyrics, and it wasn't sort of competitive or anything. We were both singing the lyric, but nobody backed off. And then we very quickly realized, this blend, there's a blend here, and it really
cool
works.
Sound, and
it's very strong, and also I think what figures in this whole thing is that we had to, talking about competition, in a way, we had to compete with a very strong singer in Peter.
Yeah. Well, he got out of the gates as a solo artist. He got out of the gates pretty strong.
But in the band, that's such a strong voice. And so we've got to follow it with something that's not strong in the same way, but strong in another way.
Yeah.
And I think that natural double tracking effect worked really well in that regard.
Yeah, I actually saw Peter on his first solo tour. And I love Peter, so I don't mean this as criticism, but I was struck by, it's like he almost didn't know what to do without you guys. And I'm not saying he was sorry for your absence. It's like he didn't know how to be, like, let's call it the lead singer without a band. The ego version of the lead singer. Like, it's all about the singer, like a Tom Jones or something. Yeah. It's like he didn't know, he had good musicians who just kind of stood there, but they didn't have your guys' charisma and gravitas.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a weird gig to watch because...
Or chemistry.
Thank you. So something got lost in him not being able to bounce off you guys or something. And I remember thinking, this is odd because he had all this momentum. There was the single that was doing really well. I think it was even on MTV. And there was this kind of... He had that moment out of the gates where it was like, looked like he was going to be a big solo star.
That's all about chemistry.
Yeah.
Because and in Love Rockets, we still had that,
Yeah. Yeah. How did the Bauhaus fans that you were sort of, at least the ones you knew, how did they react to Love and Rockets? was there anything reflexive to it? Because it's such a different animal to Bauhaus.
Are you talking about the other bands? How they?
No. I guess I'm talking about like, sometimes you're around long enough, a few fans that like what you do.
Other fans?
Yeah. Did they take to Love and Rockets or?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think we went in a certain direction that those fans felt connected with. They were going through a personal evolution themselves to do with the times, what was going on, and it resonated with that.
That really dovetails with my experience because I was dating somebody who was super goth and only listened to like all the goth.
Yeah.
And I remember she had gotten the new album, the first one, Love and Rockets. And my first reaction when I put it on was I really liked it and I got it. And I thought the way the guitar was more prominent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys singing together, I was like, I got it right away. Like, oh, this is cool. But I remember almost looking at her thinking, like, do you like this? Because she was a total goth purist.
Yeah.
And she liked it.
Right.
And that surprised me because I was like, I wouldn't have necessarily made that intellectual leap. And I think you're right. It was like something was shifting in the culture at the time.
Yeah.
Like maybe the narrow definition was expanding out, that there could be other ways.
And it still had a strain of the kind of dark romanticism.
Sure. Well, you even saw with The Cure as Robert pivoted through different styles.
Yeah.
That audience followed him.
Absolutely.
This is a over compression of time. I know it didn't happen like this, but the net result of this new venture was that, it seemed much more voiced for America. I'm not saying that's what you were trying to do, but it seemed to catch on more in America than Bauhaus did. Mm-hmm. And there was MTV and all that stuff, and it eventually led to a big song in So Alive.
Yeah.
Did you, like you said, you want to be successful, but did you have that feeling like, wow, it's actually happening? You know what I mean? Did you have that moment?
Yeah, it was a gradual ascent. Each album that first of all, our first single, which was a cover, as you know,
Ball of Confusion.
Temptations.
Great club track, by the way.
It was
perfect for the clubs.
It was a great club track, and we had that in mind. We crafted it with the clubs in mind, and it took off.
Oh yeah.
In Canada initially, we got a gold record, and then very quickly after that in the States. And then we started getting offered gigs in the States, and they were decent gigs, and there was an audience there. And then the first album did well, and then each successive album, it went up a step, in popularity, especially in America. Really, America's our place.
Kind of funny, isn't it, in a way? You know what I mean? Because Bauhaus really had that moment in England.
Yeah.
And then now you have this different thing, much different voice.
I see why, though, because, it does, as you alluded to just a minute ago, there is American influence in the music.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes sense, yeah.
There is, and that came out. Just naturally came out.
Yeah.
And so it all connects.
So jumping forward to our time with the mutual manager.
Yeah.
Raymond Coffer was his name, is his name. I think we started with him right around the time that So Alive was peaking as a hit.
Yeah.
And of course, he used that as a calling card. Like, look, I took them to the top. You know what I mean? But I went and looked up the statistics because I remember him bragging it was number one. It was number one modern rock.
Yes.
But I think he told us it was number one in the world. As only your manager would. But I was happily surprised to see it was number 14 Billboard. So that's quite something. You know what I mean? Considering the American charts at the time.
And that was number 3 in the
maybe my card is wrong.
Like the proper charts.
The proper charts.
Proper charts.
Oh, okay. I'm probably wrong. I know it was a big record. Let's put it that way. It was a huge record.
Well,
and it's one of those things because it was so big. I still hear it. Like you're in a restaurant and there it is.
I know. Yeah. You asked about moments. There was a particular moment that I recall where we had a tour set up in '89 when it was on the radio, and we got to New York and we got in a cab, 3 of us, and the cab driver recognized us and started singing So Alive. And this is a guy, like in his 50s, like a Bruce kind of New York Gabby, yeah, I know you guys. Yeah, you're on the radio. And he starts singing so loud. That's when we knew this wouldn't have happened like last year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the moment. Do you feel that, because Bauhaus, of course, the myth has grown over time and there's been various reunions. Do you feel that people in this point in time totally understand Love and Rockets, or you feel that that gets a little lost in translation?
Well, there are many aspects to that band. And I think on some occasions we were a little bit ahead of our time, and it wasn't understood at the time when we went into more electronica influenced music, like Hot Trip to Heaven, which was early 90s, And the last album, Lift, was very electronic. And I think both of those records were somewhat ahead of the game there. And also the album, the Interim album, Sweet FA, which was kind of like a mix of electronic and guitars, like distorted guitars. And I really hear like the influence of that, or certainly bands that are coming out now that sound, like that. So I think the reputation of Love and Rockets is gradually growing.
Oh, that's good to hear.
All the time, and I get really good positive feedback more and more.
I saw that you did there's like not a remix, but like the sessions from the Sweet FA album. You did like I don't know what you call it. The remix is not the right word. It's like a revisiting the sessions, or. Well,
that was never out on vinyl, and it really works on vinyl, that record. Some records work better on vinyl than others, and that one is one of those. We just added outtakes.
Right.
It's a double.
Who owns
the
rights to the Sweet FA album? Do you know? Is it it's Rick Rubin's World?
No. Oh. It's Beggars.
Oh, it's Beggars.
Yeah.
And they've never put it on vinyl?
Not until recently.
Oh, but it is out.
Originally, it was on American Recordings.
Yeah, that's what I
thought.
Rick
Rubin, yeah. But now it was released as part of a box set as well.
Okay.
Vinyl, very nice. Very good quality.
Yeah, very
180 gram. I mean, the quality of vinyl these days is so great.
I was asking because we have our own imprint that we do. So
poking
around about
fishing.
I was fishing. So take this how you want. It's a bit self-serving, but you can ignore that part of it. But like managing the myth, you know what I mean? As a fan, like, there aren't enough great hyperbolic words you can use to describe, both bands, Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. I love them both. I learned something from both. I got something from both. I stole something from both. But, not the general public doesn't always understand these things. But over time, this other thing happens. If the music survives, which it will, of course, and is, a mythology starts to creep in. You know what I mean? And, part of the success of that is managing the mythology. How do you feel about managing the mythology of something like that? Is that too esoteric a question?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We're very conscious of that, and we guard it, and we curate it, and we nurture it, and we have a very good, it's great that we have a good relationship with the label, in that we're always consulted on anything that's released, and we're very, very picky in that regard. So it's kept in check. Yeah.
Do you feel that in particular, the Bauhaus reunions, do you feel they've sort of given later generations of fans the right glimpse of the band, or do you feel like it hasn't quite? I'm just curious for your thoughts on that in reflection.
Yeah, I think very positive. And the last time we were out, I think maybe that was the absolute height of the band. I think when we played here in LA at the Cruel World Festival, I think those two gigs were in some ways like the absolute apex. Like It was just...
Well, in many ways, the band's never been bigger, at least
No.
when we talk about Bauhaus.
Just as far as our presentation and the way we were playing. And still it had the same kind of intensity and edge. All intact.
Yeah.
Nothing of that lost. And I'm very proud of that.
When you guys split from Peter, he went one direction, I'm not asking what was the negotiation for peace, but what peace needed to be made so that you guys could still make music together? Or is it just time?
I think a factor in that is that I had gone on the road with Peter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the Ruby tour, which is the 40th anniversary of the first album in the Flat Field, and we did a lot of dates all over the world. He asked me to come and be a part of that, and his entreaty reached me at the right time. Mind you, I had to put the money up quite a bit, but I did, and came on board. And it was a great band. Mark Gemini Thwaite on guitar, Mark
great guitar
player. On drums, a great drummer. And that was very successful. And from that, we were offered three nights here at the Palladium in LA.
Yeah, not a small gig.
No, the full band.
Yeah. Oh, the full band. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. With Daniel and Kevin. And everybody was just in a kind of receptive mindset. But I think our tour that I'd done with Peter paved the way for that. It did. And it was it was a nice kind of ease in.
I see.
For me. And they'd seen me out on the road with him and seen that
I see.
Got through it. So it all just kind of panned out, and we were going to carry on, and do a lot of gigs, and we were like, we're going to play Radio City, New York, really nice venues, and then of course COVID. So it was scuppered until we finally came out.
I typed into Chat GPT or one of those things how many solo albums you made, and it said 11 to 15. I don't know what that means.
It's probably double that.
Really?
If you include collaborations.
Yeah. You've always put out a lot of solo work, so I was curious about that. Because in my situation, when you don't have the name, it just, the interest in the work goes down. I don't know what that is. It's just the way things work. Marketing. So obviously when you go out as just yourself, or I go out just myself, you know before you begin that you're navigating a different sort of field.
Sure.
What has it been about making so much solo music that's kind of kept you focused? Is it the act of doing it, the joy of doing it? I know it's a weird question to ask. It seems self-evident as I ask it, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. It's just the imperative that comes from wanting to create, and it's nothing to do with, my audience is, like we say, it's very niche, like super niche, and it's very limited, but they're very appreciative and die hard, and it's a real listening audience, and they're attuned to nuance and subtlety, and I have that audience in mind when I'm in studio recording. I do it in the back of my head. I have that audience, and I know they're out there, and it doesn't matter that it's kind of small compared to the bands.
And it's not about small or big. No. It's just about, I guess, what strikes me is doing work that you feel good about and you believe in, but before you even sort of press play, you know that the audience is limited just because of the way the world works. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think as you get older, at least it has been for me, it's harder sometimes to surmount the courage or the energy. Because if you just called it something else, just a bigger audience shows up. It has nothing to do with quality. It's just because it's just, what's the old saying? What's in a name?
Mm-hmm. But I am just, essentially doing it for myself. And I can't do anything about it. It's just, I'm compelled to create all the time.
I did see the... I feel like it was an infamous tour, but it was the one where you just guys played under light bulbs.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that tour.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I was there.
In Chicago?
Yeah, I was there.
All right, yeah. That was with Max Ida, who's now left us very sadly, and Owen Jones from Jazz Butcher Group.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I love doing that tour, yeah. Very stripped down again.
Have not read the book. I need to. I have a copy. I just haven't read it.
Mm-hmm.
How's the response been to the book?
Yeah, it's been very positive, actually. Yeah, and I just heard it sold out. Second edition sold out, which is actually the third edition because they slipped out a little secret second edition. So it's done well. Yeah, that book.
I need to read this book.
And again, I was compelled to write that book to tell the story. It's nothing to do with like making money or anything like that. It's just I have to tell the story.
Yeah. The word I would use is, it's a terrible word, but lifer. It's, of course, she refers to people stuck in jail for their life. But I think certain musicians are lifers, and you're a lifer. You know what I mean? You're like, you're in it. You're in it. Yeah.
That's like you.
Well, it seems at this point, yeah. I've had many years where I really doubted my sanity. Finally, and I honestly, I do it out of kind of a mutual love, I think. But I was surprised to see it. I'd forgotten that you guys were part of the apocryphal bill where Jane's Addiction imploded on stage. In fact, the last time I saw Daniel was when he was he was kind of guesting with Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
Some tour we were on together, and he was around. I tried to tell him this story, and I'll tell it to you because maybe you'll think it's funny. He didn't think it was that funny. We played a gig in 1991 in England. It was kind of our, everyone was going to be their gig.
Yeah.
Nirvana was there. By Bloody Valentine was there. It was one of those gigs, and Daniel was there.
Okay.
And my enduring memory of all these luminaries are in the dressing room. You know what I mean? Everybody. Like, it's like a who's who of 90s grunge and alt.
Yeah.
And Daniel's there with this French model.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're young, so we're talking to her as much as we're talking to him. I don't know. It's our dressing room. And we say, we're trying to be polite. Like, well, how do you know, we're like in awe of Daniel. It's Daniel Ash, And she goes like this, I don't know how I ended up with this monster. And I tried telling him that story a couple of years ago, and he just kind of looked at me like, it didn't land.
Yeah, I know you're talking about as well.
I was like, you don't remember the French model? And he was like, yeah, I think her name was Veronique, or, it's like that's his memory. So
yeah,
rock star problems. He can kind of remember the French models.
Yeah, it's highly amusing.
Anyway, thank you so much. Great talking to you.
Thank you, Billy. It's been great.